Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farah, and today I wanted to do a little bit of a reading wrap up. It's kind of a mixture of what I read mostly in April and this month. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly kind of go through it and let you guys know my thoughts. It's no particular order. It's not even in order of best to worst. I'm just kind of going to go through the pile. I didn't prepare anything, so hopefully I can get through it without stumbling too much. But the first book I have to tell you about, this one I just recently finished, and this is called The Serviceberry, Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And she's the same author who wrote Braiding Sweetgrass, which is really popular, well-loved book. I have that book. I haven't read it yet. I'm just kind of saving it for a rainy day. But yeah, this book was really interesting. So it's a nonfiction. It's very short. It's more like an extended essay. And Robin Wall Kimmerer, if you guys didn't know about the author, she is a scientist professor, and she's an enrolled citizen. She's an enrolled member in the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. So she's an indigenous author as well. She lives not too far away from me, and my sister actually worked with her at the same university. So that was kind of a cool connection that I have I don't have, but my sister has to the author. So this book was a lot different than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more of a focus on nature and the particular type of plant or tree that she's talking about, but it was more of a deep dive into the theory of gift economy. And she used the serviceberry, which another word for that would also be June berries, but she used that life cycle of giving back to nature and receiving from nature in a reciprocal manner as her basis to talk about how good and beneficial gift economies are in the world when people just share things for free and you get things for free back, and what kind of a community builder that is, and how different it is from our greedy corporate economy that is based on scarcity. So it was a really thoughtful, very interesting and thought-provoking book. I really recommend it if you love nature and you are interested in that type of information. I did find that maybe a few parts were a little bit repetitive, but overall it was wonderful. It was a great book and I really enjoyed it, and it's making me really excited to pick up Braiding Sweetgrass. So yeah, this is The Serviceberry. I actually read this for a hiking book club in my area, which I've been trying to join and be a part of, but I just can't. Like whenever they have the hiking part to discuss the book club, I'm either busy or I didn't finish the book yet, but I'm going to keep trying this summer. They usually do it from May to October, so I have quite a few chances to try. And I think the next book in the book club for June is going to be called Bad Naturalist. So I have a hold on that. I'm just waiting for the library to send it over. So yeah, that was the first book. Also, I finally finished Nightmares and Dreamscapes by Stephen King, and I have a whole reading vlog on this, which I'm going to probably try to post after this video. But yeah, I'll share my thoughts more in that, but I would say this took me a really long time to read, and it was okay. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. It was average, but I'm really glad I read it. So it was a great introduction to Stephen King, and I'm really excited to read more by this author. I think the next one I'm going to pick up is going to be Carrie, because I want to try to read them in publication order, because I know that he puts Easter eggs in certain books, so I'm going to try to do it that way. And I've heard that Carrie might not be the best written book in the world, but I still am interested in trying it. So yeah, there's that one. All right, I just had a wonderful phone call with one of my bestie friends just called me. So sorry if things look different. It's been a few hours since I was recording this. But yeah, let's get back into it. So I picked up and read A Man Called Uwe by Fredrick Bachman, and I actually listened to this as an audiobook. And this one was pretty good as well. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I went into depth about this on my reading vlog, which should be the previous video, I believe, before this. And I went into details about what I thought about it. But honestly, the book overall was a great story. It was very well written. I can see how it can be a favorite for many people. I personally gave it around 4 stars, though it just didn't hit me emotionally as much as I thought it would. And there was a heavy chat about elderly people wanting to take their own lives out of grief. So that was a little bit difficult for me to read about, but I think overall it was a really fun book. And if you want more information about my thoughts, you can check out my blog. I also read and finished the third volume of Heartstopper, which is a graphic novel. It's a young adult graphic novel, and it was really cute. This tells a story about two characters, Nick and Charlie, who go to a boarding school in the UK, or they go to an all-boys school in England, and they become really good friends, and then they fall in love. And it's just a very whimsical, sweet story about them kind of just navigating through high school, deciding whether or not to come out, just getting, sort of in touch with their own sexuality and their own comfort level with that. And I love about these books is that they're so whimsical and sweet, and it's just this type of inclusive world that you just wish kids could be a part of and grow up in and feel comfortable in to be being themselves. And as the first two were really great, the third one was just as great, so I really enjoyed it. And I'll definitely be reading the last two. I think there's 2 more books in the series, 4 and 5, which I'll pick up very shortly just to get through this series. It's just so cute. 5 stars, easily. And then I think the last physical book I have to show you is this one. It's a vintage wildlife book from the 70s called Chipmunk Portrait by, it just says the guy's last name is Henisch. And this was great. It was basically a long, extended essay talking about the history of the chipmunk as founded by the European settlers and told by them. There's lots of pen and ink drawings in here. It gets into the native indigenous American folklore and art that was inspired by the chipmunk. And then it just tells a story. It follows this one female chipmunk named Chippy, and it talks about her story of what she does in the winter, the mating season, raising her little tiny chipmunk babies, defending her territory and things like that. And it just has tons of photographs in here. So it's not long. It didn't take me very long to read. And the writing was it was really kind of like charming, I felt like. I'll just read you a little tiny a thing here. It says, considering the chipmunk's preference for independence and solitude, it is remarkable how much time a mother devotes to the upbringing of her family. The period from conception to birth is 31 days. In the last week or so, Chippy was never out for long, showed little interest in food, and spent most of the time collecting soft and rotted leaves for her nest. The outward signs of pregnancy are slight and easily missed by the uninitiated. At the time of birth, Chippy did not emerge at all for 2 days. In the first few days after she reappeared, she left the nest only for a few minutes at a time, quite indifferent to food, but drinking a great deal. As the days wore on, she escaped from the nursery to soothing peace for longer and longer periods, staying out sometimes until twilight. The babies are completely dependent on their mother for several weeks, being born blind, naked, toothless, and with ears closed. Slowly, fur and teeth grow, ears open, and the babies begin to move about. At last, a month after birth, the eyes open, and the family is free to explore its labyrinth nursery. At any time from this moment, with a little luck, it is possible, by bending down beside the wall, to hear the soft croonings and sharp little squeaks, or to look between the stones and catch a glimpse of small bodies shuffling in the leaf-strewn tunnel. So the writing was really nice. I really enjoyed it. There were a couple just funny moments that he put in here, and it was just cute. I really enjoyed it. This was just a random find I found at the flea market or the thrift store, for 25 cents. But I loved it. It's nice to just look back in time at some of these old nature wildlife books and just enjoy them and actually read them. All right, so let's get out the iPad now so I can remember what I read for you guys. All right, let's see. So I also listened to another audiobook called The Good Man Jesus and the Scoundrel Christ by Philip Pullman. And Philip Pullman is the author of a well-known trilogy called His Dark Materials, which of course is The Golden Compass, or I believe it's called The Northern Lights in the UK. And this was a reimagined story of the life of Jesus of Nazareth, except in this version, Jesus had a twin brother named Christ. And it followed their timeline, or the normal timeline you would know from reading the 4 Gospels of the Bible by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And it starts out with Jesus' birth. It tells the story of these 2 little babies. One of them was really strong and vivacious, and that was Jesus. And the other baby was weaker, kind of more runty, and had some issues, and that was Christ. So it just kind of breaks the character of Christ into the character of Jesus into 2 separate personalities. So Jesus goes on to be very passionate about teaching his ministry, teaching people to love each other and things like that. And Christ grows up kind of in the shadows, who is influenced by this stranger to get Jesus to speak a certain way or do things a certain way. And he kind of is the historian recording all of the things going on in Jesus's life. And it's very controversial, this book. If you're a very strict Christian, or you follow the Bible very literally, you're not going to probably enjoy this, because it does kind of allude to the idea that possibly Jesus's teachings and what his ministry was all about was not exactly translated the way he would have wanted it to be within the church itself. So it was a very interesting examination into that idea, or into that philosophy, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the writing was well done. Having read the whole Bible too, I think helped, because I was very familiar with the stories of Jesus's life and the different events that took place, and I thought it was really well done. It was very thought-provoking. I do agree on a lot of things about organized religion, so it did resonate well with me, and I enjoyed it, yeah. I have so much more I could say about this, but just for the sake of this video, I'll keep it to myself. But if you're curious, you can ask me in the comments. So, let's see, next, let me get back to my page here. I also read a book called Mozart, Starling, which I talked a lot about also in my previous vlog, but all I'll say about this one is it was a very charming memoir / nature book about European starlings, about one woman's personal experience of adopting a starling from the wild and raising it as her own. And it goes into the biology of the bird itself, its behaviors, its incredible mimicry skills, and just what it was like having it as a pet, as a rescued pet. But it also mirrors the real life story of the composer Mozart and his experience of also adopting a pet starling. Now, the starling that Mozart adopted was one that he happened to hear coming out of a shop as he was walking down the road, and it was singing a concerto that he had just finished writing, but it had never been made public yet. So of course the tune and the whole situation drew him in. We never really find out how the bird ever knew it, but he adopts it, and he had a great experience of raising it and it was his companion. So it was a great book. It was really interesting. I gave it 5 stars. I loved the writing. I loved the format that she did the book in. Excuse me. And it was a great reading experience. So I really enjoyed that. 5 stars. Let's see. Next, I listened to another audiobook, and this one I kind of did as a not real true buddy read with my daughter, but she was reading it for school. So I read it kind of alongside of her, and this was called Night by Elie Wiesel. And this was a very short book talking about the author's experience of living in a concentration camp during the Holocaust when he was about 15 years old, which is the same age as my daughter, and that's probably why they read it in the 10th grade, because it's a Holocaust story that they can relate to because of the age of the character telling the story. This one was very good. It was very sad, but it was well written. It was very kind of straight to the point, but beautiful writing at the same time. I feel like the author really told it how it was, although I always think about this when I'm reading a memoir and it goes back in time to the author's childhood or to their teenage years. You know, of course, things are going to be embellished. Conversations are going to be embellished, because how can you really remember exactly every single detail of what went on during that time? And especially for somebody that was put through such a traumatic and horrible experience, I do wonder, how much is truly real what he experienced. And of course, I would never outwardly question any of it, but I always think about that as I'm reading it. It was just sad. I feel like he didn't want you to feel better while you were reading it. He wanted you to experience it as he experienced it, and the ending was haunting. It was good. It was really good. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. It was nice to be able to talk to my daughter about that and just kind of see how she felt. And it's interesting because I don't think she had as much of an emotional impact as I did reading it. But, kids at that age, they process things differently. So, yeah, it's just one thing. I'm reading it more as like a mother thinking of her child going through that. So, yeah, it was an interesting thing to read with her. Yeah, for sure. Next, I read this actually. This was an ebook. I read The Ballad of the White Horse, which is an English epic poem written by, who was it? J.K. Chesterton. And this is the first thing I've ever read by him. And this was, I don't know how to say how I feel about this one, because first of all, if you're just looking at it and reading it as a poem within itself, it was very well done. It was just a masterpiece, in my opinion. It wavered between the 4 and 6 stanzas. It had a different rhyming pattern with some of them, but for the most part, everything rhymed. It had a great rhythm, and it was very beautiful and descriptive. But as far as following the actual plot of the story it was trying to tell, I did struggle a bit with that. I had to use super summary to just keep myself on track with what was going on. But yeah, so it just tells the story of King Alfred. It's a fictionalized, legendized version of history, and it talks about him in the Battle of Ethandune in 1878 against the Danes, and against the invading Danes, and his victory over that. So it was interesting. Yeah, I came across it from a different booktuber who had enjoyed it, so it was available. It was short, so I read it, and I'm glad I did. Yeah, it was good. I gave it about 4 stars. I mean, technically speaking, it's probably 5 stars, but just personal enjoyment, got bumped down a star. Yeah. All right. And so then the last book I just wanted to mention was the audiobook that I just finished. This one was called Blood and Guts, A History of Surgery by Richard Hollingham. This was excellent as audio, great narrator, and it's exactly as it sounds. It is a short but concise history of how surgery has evolved from the beginning when it first began. And let's just say, all of us should be extremely grateful for how far we've come in the surgical world. My gosh, it's crazy what they used to do and what they used to have to do before they invented anesthesia, before they invented opioids and any pain medication. My God. It starts out with this first guy who is world famous for being the fastest surgeon in the world. He could amputate a limb within 30 seconds, of course, when there was no anesthesia or pain medicine. That is a wonderful quality to have. So yeah, it was really interesting working in the medical field. It was just great to kind of see how far we've come. It gets into dental care. My gosh, if you've ever had any work done on your teeth, or if you've ever had anything wrong with your teeth, I mean, we are all so thankful for pain medicine and the techniques that they have now, because man, it was scary back then. Oh my gosh, it was scary. Wow. So it was one of those books that you read that just makes you appreciate being born now in this time of medical technology and access to care. And yeah, it was interesting. It was great. It was a great audiobook. So and it wasn't that long either, so it was good. But yeah, that is my spring reading wrap up. I'm going to be starting a few things. I think I'm going to try to do some kind of TBR. I'm going to try to participate in some booktube events just to get back into the community a little bit. But that's it for now. Yeah. So let me know what you guys have been reading. If you've read anything really great. I would say my favorite book out of that bunch would be Mozart, Starling. I really enjoyed that. And yeah, that was probably my favorite one out of all of them. But overall, a great reading experience. And I'm getting ready to just dive back in. Yeah, as I mentioned. So I hope you guys are having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and definitely let me know what your favorite books have been recently. And I really appreciate it. So take care, and I will see you guys soon.